Hey, 5-star review, yeah? Like and subscribe and all the things.
You know, it continues to amaze me how some franchises that somehow went out on a surprisingly good note feel the need to tempt fate and mess it all up. For a franchise like Final Destination, I guess that makes sense. Every movie pretty much has the same basic premise. Lead character sees a premonition of a disaster, warns people to avoid the disaster, and are then picked off one by one in various creative ways, as death isn't okay with it. Usually nobody lives, each new movie may throw in some kind of gimmick, justify its existence. But what I find really unique about this franchise is how they range in quality. The first two movies are fine, I guess, watchable, but not particularly good. Part 3 was mediocre, the fourth one was a complete 3D fuck-up, but despite this, despite no good reason to keep going, the fifth, and what I assumed would be final movie, was somehow good. I don't know if any other franchise took 5 movies to get good, and it comes down to 3 things, one being a lot of great deaths, a unique gimmick to shake things up, being a method to avoid death, but that method and the third thing that really caught the viewers off guard, I'm going to try to avoid spoiling as you may have not made it to this movie. I'm only going to say one thing, back out now if you don't want to hear it, back out now. The fifth movie is a prequel, but you don't know it's a prequel until the end. If you're wondering why that matters, watch the movie, you'll get it. And the reason I had to bring that up is because the new movie is also a prequel, but it's not a secret this time. Aside from that and the return of Tony Todd for his final film appearance, we don't know much else about this. While I did mention this movie in my death ranking video, I honestly did not know until I started scripting. I couldn't believe this movie was a thing. And you would think going out on a high note, despite the franchise quality and being a prequel unlike any other, that would be good enough.
Yeah, right, kid.
That brings me to the big question, did anybody want another Final Destination movie? Let alone another prequel. Seems to be the answer to everything these days. And getting through the last 14 years not knowing the backstory of death, well that just wasn't fair. I don't know if the bloodline concept will be the only gimmick, maybe they'll throw in something else new, but I have a feeling the inclusion of Tony Todd may be the big selling point. As for the teaser trailer clip we got to see, opposed to something like Saw X, we actually get to see the entire death play out for the most part, and I'm a bit confused. It starts out okay, opening with some tongue piercing. Maybe you think it's going to relate to death somehow, but that's not the case, and Richard Harmon, playing his sad mix, tattooing dad into his arm, becomes the victim of a very convoluted sequence. We have a little chain coincidentally hooking onto his nose ring while getting caught in the ceiling fan, and the floor starts on fire for reasons, leading him to get pulled off the ground. Eventually the ring comes out, and he seems to burn to death. Opposed to the last movie that, like I said, had some real creative deaths, this one is a bit overly convoluted. If we're gonna have a tiny chain somehow directly clip onto his nose ring, at least give us something more memorable than simply burning. That's not new. Aside from the sad music and I guess being shot well, I don't really like anything about this. But that being said, it may not be what we get. Richard Harmon is one of the more notable names in this. I personally like him, he's a bit underrated. So I highly doubt the first thing we're gonna see is his death. The way the scene plays out feels like an early death before anybody knows death is imminent. And I really don't think that's his role. If so, it'd be disappointing. Why would you give that away? But in any case, I'm not that impressed. It's kind of like Christy Allen's character in the 3D fuck-up. All kinds of possibilities for a creative death, but instead we get something you'll forget sooner than an episode of The View. Obviously, I'm not judging based on this, but it's not a good start. And given that nobody needs this franchise to make a comeback, it doesn't really matter. But my death ranking video has gotten a lot of views of late, so I guess people are into it. I don't know why. And to those who keep commenting saying, why do you make a ranking video on a series you don't like? Because it's fun. That's kind of the whole point. All any of these movies have to do is be fun. But the fact is, most of them aren't. Watching people die in creative ways is still fun, that's why I made the video, but if it's all the movie is, it doesn't make it worth the watch. That said, death ranking videos are always fun.
Okay!
But yeah, another Final Destination movie just doesn't interest me. Especially not a prequel, I don't care who's in it, I don't think Tony Todd will save it, though it is nice having him. And the teaser, sure as hell, is not getting me enthused. It really is kind of a joke, but if shitty movies proceed to give us fun ways to watch somebody die, then it will be covered. That's just what I think, so let me know what you think down in the comments. Remember to like the video, the subscribe button is down there too, as is a link to the gaming channel for the same content with games. I'm the Analyst, and remember kids, who the hell wants their tongue pierced anyway?